what's going on, y'all? Here with another episode of Real Raw Exchange Podcast. My name is Frank, and I would like for my co hosts to introduce themselves.
Hey, this is Matt.
ADD.
All right.
Hi, this is Kyra.
All right. So we got Kyra, coming in when it comes down to the conversation this week. Glad she can make it, and I'm glad, we were able to do a recording this week. Okay. So I'm going to just put that out there. Nevertheless, topic for today, topic for this episode is generational wealth. Generational wealth, okay? Is it a collective effort? Question mark. Do we think so or do we not think so? Nevertheless, here are a few things that I think about when it comes down to generational wealth. Well, how about this? How about we just kind of give a general definition to be able to put out there as far as generational wealth, right? So, generational wealth, what is it? Generational wealth is essentially, giving wealth from generation to the next generation to the next generation when it comes down to assets acquired over a period of time that continuously make money, for said individuals that are passing those assets off to the next generations. Will we agree that, pretty decent, definition of generational wealth? Maybe, probably,
Yeah.
Nevertheless, here is my biggest thing when it comes down to generational wealth and black people in the United States. Okay? Generational wealth and black people in the United States. A lot of us, I believe, do not have the financial literacy to be able to understand how to create our own wealth now when it comes down to the majority of us in reference to making sure the next generations have something to be able to pass on and to continue to pass on in the scope of the true definition of what generational wealth is, where there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Okay? Rich, to give a general definition out there for it, is once you are able to gain what would be considered a liquid currency, a great amount of it that goes over a certain financial bracket, but you're not necessarily doing anything with it. That's being rich. Okay? But then you have wealth, which is, of course, letting your money work for you, letting your assets work for you. Of course, being able to understand the differences between assets and liabilities, right? Where an asset creates money for you over a period of time and continuously can create money for you with little to no interaction. Little to no interaction. Okay? Building wealth. Being able to have an asset to build wealth over time, where you continually have liquid coming in to be able to also have other means of assets that will give you more liquid continuously, and then that asset that is continuing to give you liquid, you can pass to give an example for myself, I can pass to my son, I can pass to my daughter, I can pass to whoever is in my family so they can continue it on. And then once it gets up to another degree over time, when it comes down to my children can pass it to their children, and so on and so forth. All right. So, anybody got anything on this? Y'all, want to shoot in on the topic?
I think for a lot of people, generational wealth is an idea.
Okay.
It's less attainable for a certain group of people, and so it becomes more of an idea than and actuality. And for real, unless you like Beyonce or somebody, or those type of people, like your kids aren't going to. I mean, you might be able to give them a little something to like push them out the nest, but you're not going to be able to set them into a place where they don't have to work. And I actually don't want my kids not to have to work, because I feel like the thing about children who are involved in generational wealth, they don't have a sense of work ethic. So they don't work for they don't have to work for nothing. So they don't necessarily value the things that they get. And that's not what I want for my kids. I want them to be able to, like, I mean, maybe not be working at 11 like I was, but at least have a job.
Well, here's my take on that. Okay, I think that is dependent upon how influential said adult or said elder has on said child. You know, where you can have an adult that, may have a mindset of wanting to train, condition, teach, educate their kid on, assets, liabilities, on the aspect of being able to build a business, what may have you, and that adult is an example of it, because you can't just say, "Oh, you should be doing this, be doing that," and not be an example. Because most people learn from seeing and being able to gain knowledge from an example, right? Where you can have the child, and the child doesn't have any sense of ambition within himself, but then you can have another child that does and understands the value of being able to take what they're learning from said adult and apply it in a way that helps them and helps their family, and they understand the why behind it.
It's just gonna make your kids fight at your funeral. That's all that means. Like, it's like
Okay, I mean, definitely that's definitely one way of looking at
because
it.
they're gonna be so opposite that one's not gonna understand what the other one's doing, and the other one's gonna think, "Oh, you just being extra." Like, my grandfather was a person who was really good with his money, but my grandmother couldn't hold on to two papers that were like stapled together. So, so it was different, but in the end, things were different also,
Okay,
because he had all his paperwork together, and
well, is
I mean, I
that,
we wasn't go funding me, but
I mean, obviously back then when it came down to them, they, didn't have a sense of GoFundMe or anything when it comes down to different applications like that. But nevertheless, Kyra, you got
no,
something?
yeah, I know you missed the joke.
I feel like in my situation, it's a necessity. It's a must. I have to build generational wealth for my family because I have a special needs child, and
Mm,
nothing's gonna fund that but me building wealth for her and
mm.
having something to secure her safety and her happiness when we're no longer here. So I have to build wealth for my family. Um, and so I don't think it's going to make my kids not have work ethic or not want to go out there and do something as functioning members of society. I feel like it'll give them the courage to do whatever they want. Cause me personally, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what do I want to do at 36 years old,
Mm.
and because I'm not happy in the career I'm in. If I would have had the financial backing to be able to go out and do exactly what my heart's desire was, instead of trying to find a career, then I'm I'm sorry. I might be happy right now in my career, but right now I'm not. So I feel like it's situational.
Mm.
As far as if a person is just going to be lazy and not do anything, or if they going to go out and, actually find something they enjoy.
I think that the conditioning that someone is around, or, the exposure, let me put it like that, the exposure of knowledge, of, actions that they are around, and the younger age they are privy to, the younger they are privy to being around those actions and being around that knowledge, innately it gets embedded into them to either want to do that in a complete form or to want to do it in some shape or form. Okay? Like, to give an example, one of the things that I've been thinking about when it comes down to knowledge is the aspect of what would be considered child prodigies. You know, that 3 year old that has been playing the piano more or less since the age of 2, but then all of a sudden they playing Beethoven. Like, they playing, you know, from different composers at that age. What happened in that period of time? How influential were their parents or parent or parental guardians when it comes down to them being able to learn something as difficult at that age to be able to be a virtuoso, in the piano? Same concept. Okay, for that family that has multiple businesses or has one primary business that they've accrued multiple assets from, for their child that is now 2, what knowledge are they instilling in them? You know? What knowledge are they, showing their child or children that puts them in a mindset of, okay, at like 5, they already understand what assets and liabilities are. At 6, they're already understanding, multiple currencies and the value of currencies in those particular countries compared to how one value of one currency is, of another value in another country. At 7, do they have literally a business plan set out? Or would we put ourselves in a mindset of, well, that's too much for a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old to be worrying about? They should just be worrying about playing toys, or playing video games, or playing outside. Go ahead, look at the sun for a couple of hours. But then you have other parents got their kids in the house, cooped up, facing a book when it comes down to investing. What y'all think?
I was going to say, well, you have some parents who don't know how to teach their kids to invest. You have some parents and some families who aren't leading by example. It's
Yeah.
hard to tell your kids invest. First of all, they don't know why they're investing, what they're investing in, what the benefit is, what the return is on their investment, what the profit is, because that's different, right? So they don't have all that knowledge, and you have some parents who don't know that. Now, for the parents who do understand how that works, and they understand that they understand that to build generational wealth is, I would say, actually more than just the money part of it. I mean, you can start small, like, for example, teach your kids, to pack their lunch. Don't buy lunch out. I mean, really,
Cook at
something
home,
like that.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teach them how to save, good saving habits, right?
Yeah.
As far as the adults, I mean, we just talked about this last week about Black businesses.
Yeah.
What a better way to build generational wealth than to start your own business, your own Black business,
Mm-hmm.
right? Learn about the stock markets, invest,
Right.
understand how it works, because that's something that a lot of us just don't know about. It's not that we don't have the curiosity, but we just don't have enough literacy to kind of do that. And that's just my taking on it. But I think that that it is needed and it is a necessity. I just think in some situations the resources are limited, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And for those who do want to learn about it, I mean, I don't know if they have enough push or enough, like, initiative to kind of go out and learn about it for themselves.
Right.
Because right now, if you think about, if I'm right, I think that if you look at the gap, you have Indian Americans. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's Indian Americans are at the top as far as the ethnic group or the race that's the richest. And then
Mm.
underneath them, you have like the Taiwanese, I think.
Okay.
African Americans are like 80 something, 86, 87, something like that, at 46,000 people. And that was as of 2021. So
Right.
that just gives you an idea of what's happening, like in this
And
whole thing. So
and
that's just my take on
and one thing that we did talk about before was, even though, what you said when it comes down to us being, the lowest of the low in reference to having wealth, our buying value, is
I was
in
going to
is
say
in the
that.
billions. Our
Yeah,
buying
yeah, yeah, yeah.
is in the billions as far as us, boom, throwing. I'm gonna say it in this perspective, throwing away our coin, you know, as my wife says, putting up that coin, you know what I'm saying, to everybody else, where our coin isn't rotating within our own community, let alone is it being used for the things that help to gain assets so wealth can be built.
I'm gonna say this. The black buying power is just phenomenal. It's significant, but if you take an example, like some black families, or they want to see what's going to happen now, what's it worth now, by
Mm-hmm.
saying that if you have a family, or grandma who died,
Mm-hmm.
she's had a house that's paid off. Okay, let's just take this by example. Whole family say,
I got
let's
stories.
settle it, let's take the money and divide it among the family.
Right.
And then you got that one person in the family
Who?
who's thinking about keeping it in the family. And she or he says, no, let's not sell it. Let's keep it in the family.
Right. Where?
So then
Where?
you have that conflict going on. I don't think that a lot of black families grasp that
And
importance of keeping property
what's even crazier about that is when the will is conveyed, you know, to the family, and it just so happens that the person that is saying keep the house in the family has the most percentage on the will. But then, oh, but then you have the other ones who have lesser percentages are now trying to come together when it comes down to their percentages and be able to be like, hey, look, we need to get this house up. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy to me. But, I'm just speaking from a scene experience. You know,
I mean,
So
my experience, the ones that say keep the property ain't the one that's paying the property tax.
woo! Let's get into it.
So I just want to backtrack on a statement that in regards to like Indian Americans and like American Taiwanese and American Chinese, they have a community system in which they are allowed loans. Like when you have somebody coming into the country straight out of India, the family lets the community know and they are offered a loan that over how many ever, months, years it'll take, they can open up a gas station, a convenience store, something, and keep building the wealth within the community. And that's what the African American community lacks. We cannot come together enough to create a loan system within our own community. Every other nationality has a loan system. You can go to any of them and ask them, do you have a loan system? And they will say, yes, we have a loan system for our community.
Let's really talk about it real quick. Hold on. Let me get this out. Let me get this out real quick. Real quick, Matt. All right. Let's talk
I'm
about it real
like,
quick.
my unmute button don't.
All right. So here's my thing. How much more do African Americans help to benefit other communities than how we should be benefiting ourselves? and
A whole.
sure. And how often are we able to actually come together and put differences aside to understand the value and power in collectivism?
We help multiple communities because we go spend our dollars with everybody but us. So we are helping every community but ourselves.
Okay. Now
We can't even get us to buy a rib sandwich from us. Like that. We out here shoveling.
It's not even the rib sandwich though. It's the bottled water on the corner from the little boy trying to get his baseball team jersey.
right.
It's the bottled water from the dude who looks like a kid who but not because he always there even during school time.
Right.
They'll take your money.
Well, I buy those bean pies, so
Yeah. I
I
actually,
second
you know,
that.
what's funny is
I second that.
I
Final
do
call.
I do like the bean pies. I do like the bean pies. When it comes down to our brothers in NOI, brothers and sisters in NOI, Nation of Islam, when it comes down to them, I do buy them bean pies because them bean pies be on point. Okay? I just got to put that out there. Them bean pies be on point. At first, I was skeptical because it's like bean pie? Bean pie? You know, I'm used to apple pie. I'm used to sweet potato pie. As a matter of fact, come to think about it today, I ended up getting one of those Patti LaBelle sweet potato pies from, you know, the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me tell you something. If you ain't had one, you should have one. But nevertheless, you know, we helping out Patty. We helping out Patty, black business. Anyway, nevertheless, somebody got to say something. All right. Nevertheless,
Patty's people got generational wealth. Her grandkids are set for life. Cause we should sing a trio or a quartet so that we about Patty so we could be famous like that dude with the purses.
look, we have too many.
Digress.
We got too many black people, you know, singing jingles to be able to make a coin. You know, like we just
Yeah, struggle
you know,
bus. And we don't even pay for our own jingles neither. We don't hire us neither.
we don't even, you know, end up getting our own masters. We end up giving our masters to some company that gives us a lump sum of money that we think, oh, this is a lot of money when it really isn't. You know, the aspect on, you know, being able to, you know, see like, you know, I see a quarter different from somebody else seeing that quarter. You know what I'm saying? I may see a quarter and want to put that quarter in the bank, and then that quarter goes toward, you know, a certain lump sum of money that I'm trying to invest and put in something else. Whereas somebody else is like, oh, let me go get a bag of chips. I don't even know if they have 25-cent bag of chips anymore. You know what I'm saying?
They do that.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Like,
Inflation.
but, right. Like, it's crazy out here. But here's one thing I wanted to bring up, right? So we have a perspective when it comes down to the black community specifically, where we've all heard it and we've even used it on this podcast. You know, crabs in a barrel mentality, right? Crabs in a barrel mentality, right? Where how are we going to be able to come together as a family or as a collective within the scope of collectivism when it comes down to being able to come together, have the good type of nepotism to where we're always building for ourselves and always thinking of self first, hashtag B1, always thinking of self first versus the individualistic mentality, hyper individualism is what I like to call it, the individualistic mentality that we have now in reference to thinking that all of us are on our own island. But then once one of us make it, everybody asking for a handout, you know, but they didn't help us get there. But then also you got quite a bit that are like, let me go ahead, you know, drag you down by the collar, you know, because I don't like where you going, you know, because I'm not there. Even though I ain't putting no work on doing nothing to be able to get there, I still don't like where you going. So let me go ahead, you know, yank you, you know, dog walk you somewhere else because of the fact that I am too envious for my own good. What y'all think about that?
So, I have my own thoughts of it, and I don't even know how to put it into a way that's not going to be offensive.
No, just put it in the way.
Um,
Put it in the way. That's all you
I'm
got to do.
saying, girl, I'm saying. No.
Just say it.
so I mean, basically, you gotta get rid of the people that would have turned in Nat Turner. You got to get rid of them type of people to be able to for us to come together as a community.
You know what? You speak on Nat Turner, right? What's crazy is a good amount of us don't even know who Nat Turner is, let alone would even be able to fathom the mentality that he had. You know? And then you have many of us that it's so easy to, in so many words, it's so easy to be very, what I like to call coonish. It's so easy to be that, also what I would like to say, that Negro. You know what I'm saying? Because that's an old school term, and a lot of people don't know what actually, that term means. But it's easy for us to do that, for us to, in every sense of the word, sell each other out or put each other to pasture, versus being able to come together, being able to have that nepotism that we need to be able to build together, being able to understand petty little differences as far as things like, I don't know, let me put a few things out there. Colorism, what can I say? Vanity, things like, here's one. Perceived lack of education. That's a good one, that puts us in a mindset of, well, because I did this in the society, or I look a certain way in the society, I'm better than you, so I should be at that location when it comes down to the perceived image of what is better. Get the fuck out of here. Like, come on. That's those are the things that continuously separates us, continuously will separate families. you know I mean, let's talk about, I'm gonna put that out there, capitalism. Let's talk about capitalism, right? You know what I'm saying?
That's the
Oh
biggest
yes.
joke
Oh
ever.
yes. Oh,
It's a joke.
we are going to get into it. Okay, we have to get into it, especially in the United States when it comes down to, the almighty dollar is number one. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's what's funny. Anybody know here that on the bills that we see when it comes down to the currency, not every single person that is on a bill was a president? Did anybody know that? But a lot of people believe that every single person on said coin or bill was a president, and that is not true.
Yeah, well, yeah. Benjamin Franklin was on a $100 bill. He wasn't a president.
Right. He was an inventor, though. Supposedly. Supposedly. We ain't gonna
He
talk
was
about
many things.
we ain't gonna talk about history when it comes down to them creating a patent office and taking a lot of patents and blueprints from other black people when it came down to former slaves and all that stuff when it came down to them being able to get coin off of the fact that now they got a patent on something that they didn't create.
A lot of things that they claim to be theirs is not theirs. We created anything that deals with manual labor and making it easy was probably invented by a person of color.
Facts.
I
Diddly.
concur.
The
I
vacuum
concur.
cleaner was made by a person of color. All of the things that we use that make our lives easier and maintaining our homes was made and invented 90% of it by a person of color. Because who did all of it? We did.
I'm just saying. And that goes into another perspective based on the topic that we have tonight. when it comes down to how often, based on history, black people end up, doing for selves, gaining a certain level of affluence, and then all of a sudden someone gets jealous and be like, fuck that, you don't deserve none of that shit, let me take that shit from you, or murder all of y'all, and essentially fuck it up for the generations to come.
This
How
just got
often has
dark.
that happened to where,
Often. It was an often occurrence. I just watched a documentary, and I wish I would remember the gentleman's name. He had 250 acres of land in the South. The people in the town found out he owned all of that land. It was a reverend. He owned all of that land. They went to his house, told him, "Sell us your land, or we're going to kill you." He said no. They killed him. Went back to the house, told the family. The family sold the land and had to flee. So they lost 250 acres of land because they were ran out of town, and they killed the patriarch of that family.
and here's my thing when it comes down to something like that. Let's just say if something like that happened in 2021, in my thought process, in me being a free man and not having to deal with the slavery times and all that good stuff, in my thought, who the fuck are you? Where's my Glock?
But I
Like,
mean, in kind of a way, it's not as violent, but it does happen. Gentrification is strong, especially in the city I live in. They pushing people out in the areas and by letting them be run down in a hot mess.
and speaking on the perspective of real estate, speaking on the perspective of real estate, you have too much gentrification going on where now it's a perspective of, okay, a game of land, game of property, how much property I can get within said area, and now use money that probably ties back to, generational wealth of one particular family, use my money to now increase the value of the area that at one time was seen as less than because black people live there. You know what I'm saying?
The but the way that they get people out is that they hike up the taxes in their neighborhood. So even if you own a house, if you miss the taxes, you get put in the paper like a criminal, and then your stuff get taken.
Facts.
That goes on in a lot of like, I won't say black neighborhoods, but in neighborhoods where people can't afford to save the day, where they don't have lucrative funds to just be like, okay, well, here's 100,000 to save my house. Yeah.
Disenfranchised areas, you know, or disenfranchised people. But then also we have to talk about the true definition of what disenfranchised mean. You know, where oftentimes, the mentality is put out there, oh, everything is equal now. Everything, you can go out and get what you want. But everything has a cost. Everything is a cost, you know? Like what price are you willing to pay to get to a certain level of affluence? You know? What price are you willing to pay? Where the thing is, you have a lot of people in this world where it's like they want, in every sense of the word, they want everything from you for you to have your necessities. They want everything from you for you to have your necessities. Let me say it again. They want everything from you
You about to make me say, preach, preacher.
for you to have, exactly, for you to have your necessities, right? Where what is everything? You know? Are they able to treat you like you're lesser than a human being for you to now have only maybe a fraction of what they would gain within a year for you to now believe that you really have something when, and I'm gonna just be real about it, liquid currency, dollar bills, coins, that stuff, if you really think about it, it doesn't have any value. Assets have value because assets create liquid over time. If you really think about it, and a lot of the stuff, when it comes down to business, assets, liabilities, being able to understand what, can make you money, what can't make you money, a lot of this stuff, you have to go and search for the knowledge, you know. Oftentimes, you have to be that one, as we've talked about before, you have to be that one in your family to be like, okay, things need to change. I'm going to be that one. But then that also has a price to it. Where all of a sudden, now since you are that one, everybody is now relying on you. But what should happen is we all should be relying on one another when it comes down to collective. In one collective effort, one singular mission.
But that's hard in the Black household.
Right.
That's hard, right?
Facts.
Because if you take households that have like wealth and then have like some sort of measure of like economic security and that can actually donate time and money, just by like I don't know, like influencing like political processes or whatever, blah 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 blah. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But I think we all know, we all know.
She had to clear her throat real quick. Go ahead.
I think
Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
I am confident in saying that the black, white, or the black and everybody else like wealth gap is just that's not by accident.
No, it's not. No.
It's not by accident. And you have like there is like clear result of like centuries of like federal and state policies that have systematically like facilitated the deprivation of Black Americans.
Yeah.
I can't put it no better way. I just can't put it no better way.
I give you one primary example. Does everybody know? Hold on. Does everybody know what redlining is?
No.
We got one. Lady D, you know what redlining is? You know what redlining is? Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Nat.
Who? Nat said yes.
Huh? What you say?
Nat said yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you know?
Okay, go.
Okay, Nat. Tell us what redlining is.
No. I've heard of it, but it's been a long time, so I'm gonna go with no because I don't remember exactly what it is. I know it has to do with like systematic denial or something like that, but I don't remember exactly what it is.
So to kind of give a basic definition of what redlining is, redlining at one point in time was used to have certain neighborhoods have allocation of resources and allocation of being able to be approved for home loans, certain loans, when it comes down to keeping the resources in one area, and that was included, or what was included in that was also education, whereas you had, allocation of resources in one area compared to other areas that were now redlined to be, areas of, well, no one should, be teaching, of a certain level there. No one should, have or put money into this neighborhood. No one should be doing anything in this area. Where, let's just say for an example, one person that would be in the disenfranchised area would try to go over to the affluent area and try to get a loan. They would be disapproved because of where they lived.
I mean, that's still how. Yeah, okay. Double jank.
Would you say?
And I'll even go as far to say that you can come from one, I don't know, let's just say one uppity Black neighborhood and go to another black neighborhood. Another example of us not supporting each other.
Each,
They'll deny you because of where you're from.
I think, I
There
think
is
the
no
Um,
collectivism there.
they'll deny you before they find out where you're from. Just because you don't fit the profile of what I mean, the ne- the neighborhood I live in, like people go in their garage and they close the door, and then you got a girl from Benning Road. I try to keep the grass cut, make everything look nice, but I feel like the hood bride in the neighborhood, like
right,
so it's happening all the time.
true, where the effects of redlining back then still goes on till this day. You know, the effects. I would even go as far as saying this: the effects of Jim Crow. Even though Jim Crow was abolished, the effects of it still goes on till this day. You know, now maybe in lesser forms or really dependent upon where you really live, right? Because I know in the South, things are fairly different in the South compared to the North, you know? So it really depends. Where someone may not like you because how you look, but because of how you look, that puts you in the disposition of having to now work harder for yourself to get what you need that is a necessity. Because someone doesn't like you because you exist.
Can, can I just say something?
Say
This is on.
what you got to say.
I gotta say something. So I was in. I'm trying to bring this home. I was in a service at Howard, and I can't remember who was speaking, but whatever. She told a very quick story. She said that one time she got on a bus. This is in like 1960 something. I forget 1950, 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Got off the bus, and all the black people or all the African Americans was sitting in the back of the bus. They made a stop, and they had to go to the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they weren't from the South, I don't believe. I think that they were Northerners going to the South. So the rules were different. So what happened was when they got off the bus, they had to use the bathroom. They learned that there was one bathroom. Not only was there one bathroom, but it was a paid bathroom, and nobody had money except for one person. So what happened was that the one person went in, and when he came out, or when she came out, he held the door for the next person, and they did it until the last person used the bathroom.
Right.
That brings me to a point that kind of says that right there was like the epitome of what Black people should be doing for each other today. Because
Right.
I don't think blacks understand what some blacks don't understand, that wealth is knowledge. It goes beyond money. It just
Right.
goes beyond that.
Right. Like,
And
go ahead.
if you're not willing to help somebody else, because let's be real about it, you got some black people who are high in office and they, you know, they ain't doing right. They're just not doing it right. Okay, you got black people who
Rest in
have
peace, Mary
made
Bird.
it, or whatever, or who have arrived, even in some families. We see it where you got kids who are trying to, do better for themselves. They may have graduated,
Mm-hmm.
they may have done all this. And let's just say this: when my family, like when my aunties and when they were my age, they didn't have to have a degree to work in the government. That's something else. They took a damn civil service test.
Right.
And depending on what they scored on the civil service test, that's how they were placed
Right.
in that government employment.
Right.
Now you almost are taught, go get your degree, do this, do that. Okay, now I got my degree, and there's nobody, and I'm not talking about nepotism or favoritism. I'm just talking about um I don't know, a helping hand. I can't find the word, but you're sitting on something and you see me trying to get there. Can you give me a little push? Can you do something to help me out? Or are you just going to sit there and act like you got there by yourself and you did it by yourself, and now you're washing your hands
Right.
of it. And I see a lot of that. And to me, that also speaks wealth. It's like, so you're just going to keep it all for yourself with your family? That's not,
I think
listen.
foundationally, I believe foundationally, us being in the United States of America, it's easier for us to be individuals in an individualistic society.
Go.
That's it's like grooming. Like it's let's be real about it. It's America 101 as if it was a college course. It's America 101 to think about self, do for self. But then you have those small knit national groups that come from their country over to the states and they had a plan before they got here.
You got South
But I don't.
Africans that are third, that are probably, I think, don't quote me, I think they're probably the third or fourth or fifth richest race group. And I'm just going to say,
Right. What you got, Kyra?
I think it was just. I think it was taught somehow infiltrated into the African American community because if you look at the Caucasian community, they work together within smaller groups. It's not a huge group of them that work together, but they'll network within like a smaller community group.
Yeah.
And let's say, okay, I go to Country Club A and, Bob and Tom, I'll network with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tim and Ted over at Country Club they'll network with each other over there. So they know how to network, but in a smaller group, not not as large as other international groups would.
Right.
So it's just, I think it was infiltrated and taught. Sorry.
Oh, you good.
It was just taught. It was taught in the African American community some way, somehow that, we only need to be about ourselves. You only need to worry about your household, and that's it. You don't need to help your brother or your sister come up if you come up, because I see it everywhere. When you ask an entrepreneur that has a successful business a simple, basic, non-specific question like, "So where did you begin in searching for a vendor?" They go crickets.
I got a
They
story.
go crickets. I'm not asking you for your vendor. I'm asking how did you
How
begin
did you get
searching
there?
for a vendor?
Like the knowledge for me to apply. How did you get there? From point A, right, to point B. What happened in between? What was it? A jagged line? Was it a straight line? Did you have to do a few curves? What something? Like give me some tangibles on how did you get to point B? But I got a story to tell. So, um, as a few of y'all know, I'm in the education. The current, position that I have right now, I'm an instructor. I work for the military. I'm an instructor at, what we call a schoolhouse when it comes down to teaching, what we call entry level students IT related stuff, information technology. So I'm into computers, all that good stuff. Nevertheless, um, I have thoughts in mind, and this is just something that I'm putting out there. It's kind of a big dream, but nevertheless, I have thoughts in mind of one day, being, I guess, the founder of a school. Okay, like later on down the line when I've, done, teaching at a few universities, so on and so forth. I actually have aspirations of wanting to be able to start a school more specifically, which is crazy, and I'm gonna just put this out there for the very first time. More specifically, a performing arts school somewhere in Africa. Okay. Nevertheless, um, there is one gentleman that I know of. I don't know him like that, but I know of that currently works at a performing arts school in Africa, more specifically in my wife's country. Okay. Now, this individual is also a performer. He sings, he travels, stuff, like that. I'm Facebook friends with him. Do I know him like that? Not really. But has he done probably certain things that I would like to do in the future. And is he also 20 years plus my senior? Yes. Now, I'm that one where, and if anybody who knows me, I'm not looking for a handout. I'm not looking you to do something for me. All you got to do is give me some knowledge and I can run with that. That's all. Just one sentence. Just give me one sentence and make the sentence count. That's all you got to do. And once you do that, I got it. Like that's just the type of person that I am, Nevertheless, and this is really really frustrating. It's going to go into another aspect of the topic, but it was one time that I hit him up, and I asked him, so I know you're teaching at that school, and you also, and this is also another thing, he helped out with being able to build up certain departments at the school and everything. And so I asked him, so what did you do to be able to build up those departments? What did you do to help out with, the school flourishing now and everything? And he ends up telling me, and this is one of the things that is probably one of the most frustrating things when it comes down to the black community, especially if there's a black person overseas in another country working, living there, and they're from the States, and they now have the same mentality that most black people have with other black people as far as not really giving them knowledge. This is one of the most frustrating things that you can do, is when you tell another black person, oh, it was God that helped me through all of this. Jesus Christ was the one that helped me get through all of this stuff. All you got to do is talk to God. All you got to do is pray to be able to actually find your way. And I'm like, okay, so could you tell me what Jesus told you that you wrote down that are tangibles that can help me out with knowing what the fuck you actually did? Like, that's my thought, because do not use Jesus as a cop out of not giving me any tangibles. Like I am that one where I'm gonna call you out on it. I don't care. I'm 35, right? Homeboy is 52, right? And you up here telling me something about go and talk to Jesus to help you find your own way? Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry, I got to say that. Like, come on. Like, stop using Jesus as a scapegoat. Give me some knowledge. I need knowledge. I don't need you to tell me go talk to Jesus. I don't need that. Like, and that's one of the problems that we have. Okay, when it comes down to helping each other, all of a sudden, first you got to give your life to Christ. I didn't talk to you about religion. I'm talking to you about how'd you do it. What did you do? Specifically, what did you do? What? Like, give me the what so I can understand the how so I can get to the why. Like, that's the most frustrating shit ever. Like, I don't know any other way of saying that. I really don't. Like, what y'all think?
It is extremely frustrating. Well, at least you got that response. I got crickets. Nothing. Okay, I got a non-responded message. So it's frustrating, and I'm just like, why? Why would it wouldn't hurt your business because I'm nowhere in your market, and I'm not. I might not even want to sell the same thing you selling. I want to sell clothing, but it might not be the same styles that you sell, so it wouldn't really affect you.
Right.
So I don't understand why it would hurt for you to share any type of knowledge, or even just give me the basis of where to begin to look at to even figure it out. Because I might look it up, look at all the steps I got to take and be like, no, that's too much for me. And might completely decide not to do it. So you don't even give people the opportunity to even figure it out because you too worried about keeping all yours for you and not sharing it with other people so they can also become great.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, even in that perspective, I also agree with the I call it the apprentice principle. Like, If you have a good business going on, if you have something good going on when it comes down to knowledge that you have acquired over time, what may have you, and you know someone else is trying to do similar things, same thing, what may have you, take them under your wing. You know what I'm saying? Or give them a position that they can start at within your business so they can work their way up when it comes down to acquiring knowledge over time like you did. You know? Where it's like there are multiple ways to be able to help. There are multiple ways to be able to help us come up better together. There are multiple ways to do it. But the thing is, it goes back to the crabs in the barrel mentality of I'm just not gonna give you nothing because I'm living my best life. You know, I'm thinking about me. Yeah, that's fine and well, but you know, other people are trying to live their best lives too. You know, do you have a mindset of wanting to be able to still live your best life, but also give the knowledge and pass it on because you're not going to live forever? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to live forever. You're not going to be in a mindset of, oh, give an example, when I'm 75, you know what I'm saying? I'm still going to be doing what I'm doing because, you know, I'm living my best life. At 75, you about 2 sex sessions from kicking the bucket. Okay? Maybe 2, maybe 3. I'll say let's give it about 7. Good 7 sex sessions before you like Fred Sanford when it comes down to, you know, Elizabeth, I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what is the point of holding the knowledge? Now I say that, and I'm gonna go ahead and go into another perspective on now somebody black who actually is helping me out. That guy, you know, it's like certain things that may happen in the past can also set up a path for you now to be able to have a blessing in the future. You know what I'm saying? And that person can be a blessing for you. To give an example, I call her one of my mentors. Right? She is helping me out. She's a mentor and helping me out being able to get published as an author. Okay? Because I write poetry, and then also, you know, one of our podcast hosts, we have a duet together when it comes down to us doing poetry, what may have you, and actually we're writing a book together. Nevertheless, she's giving me knowledge to help me out to be able to get published through Amazon. You know, and she's black, which is great. You know, this was the first time ever. How can I say this? I won't even say the first time. This is about the 4th time in my life that I had someone who's black who did something that I wanted to do, and I went to them and I asked them for the knowledge, and they actually gave me the knowledge. The 4th time in my life that this has happened. And I'm grateful, but how can we make that happen more often than not? Or is it always going to be the crabs in the barrel mentality, the whole perspective on not wanting to help your fellow brother, fellow sister out? You know, the whole perspective on not wanting to help the ones that look like you out. Or for that matter, being able to have a conversation when it comes down to your prevention of helping ones that look like you out, and then getting to some type of compromise to understand the benefits behind now having that level of nepotism and coming together and being able to build together and being able to gain assets together and being able to gain wealth together. And then every family lineage has, you know, the generational wealth going down the generational pipeline. You know what I'm saying? Anybody got anything on that? Want to say something? Not at all. Okay. So, yeah. it looks like we up on time. Does anybody have anything else to say before we you know, kick it? You know.
You know, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but I gotta say this,
Okay,
and
what's up?
I gotta say
What you got? What you got?
because it's for you, because you know I'm coming for you.
You coming for
No, no,
me?
no, 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 no. It's not for you. No, I am not a part. I am, and I know what your views are, what your religious views. And I'm not gonna get into the whole religious
I'm not.
thing.
I'm not a religious
I will.
person, but I, you know, I mean,
No, I
that,
know. So that's why I said I know what your views are. So I know like where you and I stand.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
But
wait,
I
wait, wait,
will
wait, wait, wait. Time out,
say,
time out, time out.
I
Let me
mean,
say that real quick.
like I know what your religious views are.
Let me just say something real
Oh,
quick.
you said everything you need to
All
say.
right, cool. All right, whatever, whatever. All right, go ahead. Say what you
No,
gotta
no,
say. Say
I'm
what you
just
gotta say.
kidding.
I ain't going to interrupt you.
I'm
My
just
bad, my
kidding.
bad.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say that I think in moments when people, I agree with you saying that a lot of, or that some people or some African Americans will use Jesus as a cop out for not giving you knowledge on how to
That's
do what you
frustrating
need
as
to do.
hell to me. I'm
But
sorry.
I will also say that if you are practicing a religion, and it can be anything, it can be Christianity, it can be, I mean, I don't know, like whatever. I can only speak for Christianity because that's what I practice. But I will say that if you pray to whoever you pray to, or if whatever, I think that that person is seeking clarity, and I think that they have gotten clarity. But no, I don't think, this is what I think. I don't think Jesus comes down and say, Natalie, contact the Department of Regulatory and submit this application and know that it's going to take 7 days, and then you got to go back. And because you're black, Natalie, I forgot to tell you that racial inequality is still very much alive. So you're going to have to do this, right?
Right. Yeah.
The the housing market is still not fair. There is still, like racial profiling and blah, blah, blah. So I get it. So I totally get it. But I want to say, I think that when they make those responses, that they should, that at least in my experience, like if I need something bad enough, or not if I need something bad enough, but if I'm trying to get to a place, right? Like there was a few years ago where I was trying to get to a place, not a place as in a house, just a place as in another step in my life personally and financially.
Yeah.
So when I was in that place, right,
Hmm.
I I prayed, but I learned how to pray for what I needed exactly. Very specific. But that took time and experience. And I also learned that it's not just prayer. It's you also. But the you part of it is that's the action part of it. And I think that that's the part where you actually have to get up and go do it. You got to go do that you need to be done. It's not going to be done for you. So I think for the people who are giving advice to other people that may be frustrated, where they're like, oh, pray, ask God for it, or ask, I don't know, whoever for it. I think hopefully, at least in my experience, it's been about clarity. But once I have clarity of which direction I should go,
Yeah.
it's up to me to make those steps to kind of get there.
Can
It's
I?
like, okay, now I got it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
now I, can figure out. And those are the steps that you need.
Right.
Like you said, like you need to know how did you get started? How did you
Right.
get started?
Let me say some. Let me say
Yeah.
something on this note real quick because we only got a little bit of time. So, here's my thing. Okay. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I know how to be able to explain it. I know how to be able to convey, my understanding of the two, what may have you. But here is my thing. You know, I understand the concept of God. I understand the concept of God. I believe in God. I understand the concept of God. I understand what it comes down to being able to apply certain maxims as far as religious doctrine, but I don't tie myself to everything within religious doctrine because those books were written over 5,000 years ago. Okay, and there are multiple translations. Nevertheless, here's my thing. When it comes down to what God is telling you, okay, that's one thing as far as being able to speak affirmations into your life to be able to have a calm mindset of focus. But it's another thing to actually put in the discipline to get to certain goals in reference to carrying out certain actions with consistency. Right? Where I don't like it when black people separate the two. They will only talk about religion and God and the good almighty Jesus Christ, but say nothing in reference to the discipline, the work, the actions they must carry out in being consistent in reaching particular goals. That, my fellow co-hosts, is elephant dung to me.
I got it. I totally understand what you're saying, but I just had to comment on it. I had to comment on it.
You know,
and then yeah, like I just think it's a matter of at least again, that's for me and for what I believe, and I can't speak for everybody else, and I don't. I to myself do not practice one religion, so and again, that's just that's just how I live my life. But yeah, I think it's more about clarity, like when you just don't know what to do, like how Kyra said when she was kind of saying, that she's 36 and she's still trying to figure out life, whatever she believes in. If she doesn't believe in something, whatever her preference is, she has to find clarity for what her purpose is.
Right.
And let me just say, purpose is something totally different.
Right.
Finding your purpose is just, that's what's wrong with a lot of black people.
I'm gonna just put this
that,
out there.
that they don't know what their purpose is, and they don't know how to find it or how to go after it or how to fulfill it.
I'm gonna put this out there, and I'm gonna just put this out there, and hopefully nobody gets offended by it. But a lot of black people don't understand that most religious books is essentially allegory when it comes down to morals and values that you learn to be able to actually apply in real life. But that's a whole nother conversation that we can have on another day. Nevertheless,
I would like to say I am here for that conversation. Fully here for that conversation.
Okay.
I'm also here for that conversation. You
know what? Okay,
I'm here for that conversation.
We should have an episode about what allegory is, let alone how it applies to religious books.
Yeah, we should, because I know exactly what allegory is, and I want to know everybody's views of how it applies to
Nevertheless, we are up on time. I will again thank Kyra for stepping in when it comes down to being a part of this episode. You contributed in a great way, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. And with that said, my name is Frank. Real Raw Exchange Podcast. Everybody take it easy. Have a wonderful week.